everybody needs somebody. Everybody can kind of go through some different things, and sometimes people just want to hear, I'm sorry, I messed up. Like, I'm sorry.
Everyone has a story. I get them to tell it. Welcome to the Aron Bender podcast. Conversations with media personalities about their personal and professional lives and journeys. Thank you so much for joining us today on IGTV, YouTube, DB&A TV, or your favorite podcast platform. Before we get to my conversation with DJ Severe, a little about my story. I'm a widowed dad of 2 girls who just lost their mom, a grieving husband, a man in recovery trying to reconnect with the world with fresh eyes, faith, and perspective, a college journalism professor, a white guy in a world of injustice, a 20-year broadcast media veteran who had his dream job and then lost it. Nearly 2 years ago, God gave me a gift, an opportunity to stop, step back, and breathe so I can learn about love, vulnerability, forgiveness, grace, self-care, patience, and understanding. DJ Severe is the resident DJ at Dodger Stadium and the man at the top of Rose City Sound. We talk about fatherhood, being able to admit and learn from our mistakes, and how music is at the center of it all.
My real first memory of music is always sitting in the back of my dad's Trans Am, riding up. He used to take me on trips all the time, family trips. My stepfather, and we were not knowing where we're going, but then just Earth, Wind, and Fire playing in the 8-track, and then just like discovering, but just, sitting back. I can't even picture it, but just sitting back, just seeing myself in the back seat, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And,
yep.
Trans Ams didn't really have a side window, so you're just in there, in your seat as a little kid, and the music is just playing. You don't know what you're listening to, but just like, it's just magic.
It's just the feeling, that feeling of like, okay, I like this. This feels good.
I like this. It definitely feels good. And then also discovering his vinyl collection, like which we have, and then just going through records and reading liner notes, and then just being just so mesmerized with, at the time back in the 70s, 80s, where double album covers, you just open them up to a whole just world. And then just as far as DJing, so my first ever attempt at DJing was for a friend, and this is right when CDs started coming around, like in the 90s, and just collecting, having a collection on that first 100 tower CD that CD rack.
I think I had a 50. It was either like 50 or 75. Yeah.
As soon as but you know how you see him and you're like, oh, that's 100. Like, I gotta like fill that thing up.
Yes.
So I had a buddy who was having a party in the middle of the hood on Van Ness. Like, I'm talking deep in the hood. And I told him I could DJ. And I actually DJ'd my first party with 2 CD Discmans, and a regular receiver. And I just remember being on his back porch, like crouched down, tower here, the receiver here, and I'm just DJing. It's one of in those houses in the hood, like you can see straight through from the back door, like into the living room.
Yep.
And I just remember seeing all these people like just partying and swimming. It's just, and then like a couple times people would come out to the backyard looking for the DJ, and they see me down there like, you're DJing with like 2 Discmans and I'm like, yeah. And that was the first party I actually DJ'd in the 90s, just for a friend, before I even really thought about that's what I was going to do. But I used to make a lot of pause tapes coming up as a kid, where you try to take a song and make it longer. So you develop your timing. First of all, you learn how to tape over a regular tape, where you put the tape over the tops, or you stick some toilet paper in there. And so if you didn't have blanks, but that's the time when everybody had like Maxwell blanks. If you can have a blank, you just make your own. But just making pause tapes and taking songs and making them longer than what they were supposed to be, just for dancing purposes.
Yeah, I remember, I remember making the mixtapes for the girlfriends and things like that. Yeah. And I would try. Oh man, I couldn't really afford the singles, of all the songs that I liked. So I would just sit there in the radio, and when they said, a song that I really wanted to record was coming up, I would
Right.
just I would just have that
Yes.
record pause. I would just sit there
Yes.
for 8,
Yes.
10, 12, 15 minutes.
Yes.
And then right when they come back from a commercial break, where I was like, okay, I know it's coming up right now.
Right.
Boom, unpause,
Right.
and just pray that
Try to get timing wise so you don't hear him talking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's just like this. Yeah.
Exactly. And then mix the different things. Boys to Men with Shy, with with some Jodeci in there, or
Yes.
some Bone Thugs with Diggable Planets and
Yes,
Arrested
yes,
Development. Just
yes.
trying to make these tapes. Oh, that took me back.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
the dual deck
Yes.
boombox
Yes.
was
Yes.
it. And then it had a CD player on the top, so then
Yes.
I could record
Yes.
onto the tapes, and I could make
Yes.
my oh no, it was over.
Yes.
It was over.
I'm gonna start going on a boombox hunt too, because I want to collect boomboxes like I collect.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Vinyl. I really want to find like really, really collectible boomboxes. Yeah.
Compare that feeling you described, being in that backyard and seeing everybody that first time that you were DJing at your friend's house, to sitting in that back seat with the Earth, Wind, and Fire. Compare those two feelings. Are they kind of on par with each other?
Nostalgically, they're different now because when I think back to, like, I get sometimes we talk about it, do I go back and I remember that party to think about when I first DJing, but the feeling being in the back seat of my dad's car, it's there with me every day, because I'm like, when I look at my record collection, or when I hear music, or when I listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire, it takes me back to right
just
there.
immediately, boom,
Immediately,
right there.
And maybe about 3 months ago, I met Philip Bailey. He was at my barbershop, and my barber had been telling me, like, yeah, Philip Bailey comes in here, I cut his hair like every now and then. And so one day I looked over, and Philip Bailey, he walked in, and then I'm looking at everybody in the barbershop, because nobody knows nobody even knows who he was. And I'm going, so my barber finished me, and I walked over, and he was just sitting on the couch on his phone. And I walked over to him, and I told him, excuse me, Mr. Bailey, I just want to tell you how much, you mean to me, like musically, like coming up. And so he stands up and he starts talking to me. And my stepfather passed away in 2016. Mm-hmm. And another memory I have is he was passing away. He was kind of like wasn't really cognizant. And so one day I went in his room, because he was at hospice at my mom's, and it was just me and him. And I pulled out my phone. I played Earth, Wind, and Fire, and this like smile came over his. And probably about maybe a month after that, he passed away. But I wanted to tell Philip Bailey that story of how much that meant to me, and then what his music meant to me, like coming up. And he said, "Thank you for sharing that story with me. God bless you." And I didn't take a pic with him. After all that, I just walked off, and that was it. But to be in the same space with Philip Bailey right then and there, that it actually even more rejuvenated that feeling. So now it's like when I hear certain things and I have that connection, it's incredible.
Since we're talking about feelings, compare then, if you could, again, we'll go back to that first friend's house DJ to the first time you were DJing at Dodger Stadium.
Wow. So my first time at the stadium, it was, I had gotten a gig, and 2 weeks later was the baseball classic. So baseball classic is, when USC and UCLA come and they play the college game in the stadium.
Yeah. I was thinking the World Baseball Classic, but just the local.
So this is local baseball classic. And then so that was my first time in. And I had taken my mixer, and then I hadn't even really done it yet, or like understood what I was going to do. But I just remember sitting it down, and this is the first time I got a producer to my right, and the announcer, and I'm like, okay, this is it.
You've got people.
I've got people around me, and I'm like, I haven't done a baseball game yet. Okay, so let's go. And I had taken my mixer, and now I'm trying to translate my DJ mind to that, and I'm going, this is way different. You know what I mean? The timing is different. The aspect of it, and this is not even a Dodger game yet. And so I'm like, I'm sitting back and I'm going, wow. I'm asking myself, like, can I do this? Like, is this like, and I quickly got into it, but I quickly realized what I was not going to be able to do. And they already, so at the time, this is before they had bought me like a controller. So they were using Clicks, which, you know what Clicks is, that is the software that lets you go seamlessly from one song to another.
Right.
So
Right.
it's Click. And so I quickly learned that that's what I was going to need to use in order to develop my timing first in baseball and then make it translate to my mixer like later on. So I didn't bring my mixer in for 5 or 6 more seasons once I got really used to the clicks and the different things within the Dodgers.
Really,
game.
it took that long.
Oh, it took me that long
How frustrating was that? Do you feel like, or maybe you walked in with it with the right amount of patience and the right amount of humility, but just hearing that
right
5, 6 seasons, how frustrating was that? You're like, God, I can't get this.
It wasn't that it was like frustrating, because I was definitely very patient, and immediately my whole mindset when I first got the job was, I'm not going to come in here and change it. I'm going to slowly maneuver it. I'm going to figure out what works, what the producer likes, and what the game already provides, so that it's not such a shock. And then I'm going to slowly turn it and form it to what I have formed it like to now. So I just try to be in my space, understand my space, and then just first off, because when I first started, no one was talking to me. Like, none of the media talked to me. It was everything was surreal. Now, within that, when I came to the stadium, it was the happiest place for me to be, every day. And I can remember my first 2 seasons actually having vivid dreams, doing that job in my sleep. And I'm talking like to the point where I'm like scenarios and like I'm really like doing this in my sleep. It was crazy. I was just like, I was so hell bent on making it like good and going through the process. I mean, literally, it was like doing walk up songs and this and that.
Had that happened to you before, where you've got vivid?
Never. And I was like, I would wake up like, oh my God, like I'm literally doing this job in my sleep. Like it was such a trip. It was such a trip.
I remember the first job I had out of high school. It was a retail job. It was a video rental store. And all they had me do that first night was just answer the phone. Video movies to go. How can I help you? Video movies to go. How can I help you? And I remember vividly that night, that went home, went to sleep, and I would wake up answering the phone.
Right.
But it was just that one night. Yeah. And it was because it was my first job. Dodger Stadium's not your first job.
No. It's definitely not. And I've been even doing more critical stuff. Like I've been in aerospace. I've been in aerospace industry since 1988. So even more critical stuff, even more critical jobs, even more handling different critical stuff. But that, for some reason, the intensity of that. I mean, because it's like, you grow up a Dodger fan. You've been coming to this stadium, and now it's like, okay, I'm in charge of creating like the vibe here. And I hadn't even realized that was what the job was until I finally settled in and figured out I'm controlling like the vibe in here. So I'm really glad that that's not what pressure was on me from the beginning, because I probably would have like really really panicked and
might have forced it, might have
forced it. Yeah.
One and done kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, and then like my first year, after I finished my first year, had very good reception from players. And at the end of the season, the person who hired me got fired. And then 2 weeks later, the other person who hired me got fired. So I didn't know whether I was going to be there or not. And the Dodgers, it's not like they have at the time, a exit meeting or this and that. So I had to wait until from December to March to find out if I was going back. And finally, they sat me down and said, "Hey, we love what you do. Although these people are no longer here, you're still with us." So this has been it's a crazy ride. Crazy ride. It was a crazy ride. Like to think like, so can you imagine every day from like the holiday season, waiting to get the call back in like in March, are you coming back? You know what I mean? After your first season, and you did good, and you're like, okay, well, but the people who gave me the license to do what you did, if someone else comes in, they might not want that anymore.
Yeah, change the vibe of the stadium.
Change the vibe. Yeah.
Don't need a DJ. Let's go back to,
Let's go back. Yeah.
all old school and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So luckily, I've survived, and it's still 13 years later, so I'm still here.
In the booth, rate from most annoying to least annoying: Todd Lights, David Vassay, Dieter Rule, or Dave Styles.
Dave Styles. And Dave Styles is only there
like half the time, right?
Like half the time, like two games out of the homestand. It's funny because the only time Dave comes in the booth really is when like I'm there. So I missed a couple games this season because I got invited to a couple of events I needed to go do. So and the crew teases Dave now because once he finds out I'm not there, he doesn't go in there. And so they're like, oh, we know why you only come here to see Severe. You don't really come to see it. But I love Dave. We have the best. Those are the best days. Me and him just joking, sitting back, laughing. Dave is the best.
How'd you come up with Severe?
Okay, so there's this movie. I always forget the name of the movie. So there's this
movie. You're gonna make me Google. You're gonna make me Google. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So there's this John Leguizamo movie with Fat Joe. And
wow, that is quite the mix.
Yes.
John Leguizamo.
It came out probably 2001. Wow, I never remember the name of this movie. So
Empire.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I always want to say Heat or something.
6 out of 10. What? By the way, what do you think the Rotten Tomato score is on that?
It's probably a 3 because it wasn't the best movie. I can tell you
21% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. So I'm up at this point. I probably have been DJing or trying to DJ for a little less than a year, and I hadn't come up with a DJ name. And I kept telling myself, you got to come up with a DJ name. So I went on this date, and we're watching this movie, and so there's 5 drug dealers or 4 drug dealers in this movie, and they all have their brand of heroin that they're selling. And so as they introduce them borough-wise, they say, and this his heroin is called, and then there's this big reveal at the end. So John Legg was almost the last one, and they talk about his, and his was like blue, and it said his brand is called Severe, and it just comes across the screen like Severe. And I was like looking, I was like, man, that's my DJ name. So I was like,
it just hit.
It just hit. I was like, it's DJ Severe, and I've been DJ Severe ever since.
You talk about you were in aerospace, so you've had real jobs.
Yes.
How do you balance the real job with the DJ, and at what point, what pushes you to leave the quote real job behind and go 100 into DJ? You've got Rose City Sound.
Right.
At what point do you go full into that?
Well, technically I'm still doing it now. The plan is as we've developed everything, the plan is to hopefully be 100% DJing before the start of next baseball season.
Okay.
I've been doing it so long, and everybody's like, you do a lot, and I just been on this constant hamster wheel of just knowing how to navigate through it. There was one time where at first I wasn't back in aerospace, and I was doing other work. So I was working for the Dodgers, I was working for the Galaxy, I was working for the Rain, I was doing all these different. It was just sports all the time, and then I got the opportunity to go back into aerospace, and I'm now a supervisor. So they give me a lot of leeway when it comes to scheduling and different things. So it's not like I have to be there 100% of the time, or they don't understand the schedule.
And it's like they brought you in,
right,
knowing it's like, okay, we know you've got this, but we need some of you. Yeah,
right. We need some of you, and so, but just the constant grind, it does wear on you. And I'm up in age now, so I need to manage my time better and be able to. I really just want to be DJ, play some golf during the, wake up, play some golf, work out a little bit, you know what I mean?
That's what I did this morning, man.
Did you? Where'd you play?
A quick 9 at Vista Valencia down the street.
Hero, you're my hero.
So
I was like, oh my God.
I dropped off the girls at school. So I put my golf clothes on before drop off.
Right.
I drop them off, and I go to the range, and then I play the quick 9 at the pitch and putt.
That is such. That is
It was a
such.
nice morning. It was a
Yeah,
nice
that's
morning.
such a nice day. That's the way you start your day off, man. You know what I mean? That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
So, we talk about, I dropped off my two daughters. They're ages 6 and 8. I know you've got 4 kids. Was it like
Right.
three daughters, one son?
Three daughters, one son. Yeah.
Where are their ages? Like where
So
they all kind of?
My oldest is 31. Lanisha, she's 31.
31.
31.
Dude.
31.
Dude. You mentioned you're getting up there in age. You brought up the 30. How old are you?
I'm 53.
No, you are not.
I'm 53.
Dude.
Born in 1968.
If you at some point told me that, okay, like let's say you don't have any kids, so there's nothing
Right.
really to kind of gauge like what your age is, I would have guessed like early 30s.
Yeah.
Early to
that's
mid
what people
30s.
tell me. That's what people tell me. I'm trying to hang on and keep it up. I'm hoping the secret hasn't been all this work I've been doing, because if I slow down, then I'm
You're like, wait a minute.
like, oh yeah,
Whatever
like,
I've been doing is working.
yeah, whatever I've been doing, I got it. Like, and that's what everybody says. What have you been doing? I said, I just been, and really, I just try to attribute it to just trying to have a good heart and good spirit, and like put good like vibes out there.
Yeah.
Even with my kids, I don't. I each one has a different personality, and once you learn their personalities, and you just adapt to that, like each one of my kids, I just try to figure out what it is they're good at, and then push them to it. Like my daughter, I know she's not college, but she'll figure her own self out, and she's the one that calls me and gives me way too much female information that I don't really like. I have to like brace myself about a doctor visits, because she tells me everything. I'm like,
You're like,
but
what? You could
Yeah.
not share sometimes.
you cannot share something, but I know that's what she wants to do. So I like, okay. And then I have my
Okay,
next
so
daughter,
you got 31 and
31, and then 28,
Yeah.
Germany, and then she lives in Vegas, and she's in real estate, and she's like she's the one who says she's my favorite, which she probably is like my favorite, but she won't. She says, she's telling everybody, you're my favorite. So, but she's the one who just calls and is like, Dad, and she's the one who always checks on me.
Yeah.
Lanisha keeps me like in line, or Dad, I see what you're doing. Don't be doing this,
Right.
and stop doing this. Like she sees me on Instagram, and Dad, you look thirsty on Instagram, and then like, so yeah, like
she just keeps that one.
oh, she just keeps that
Oh,
like
my God.
like thing going. Like the other day she told me, she's like, Dad, I did an event, and there was a lot of my favorite actors, and she's like, Dad, everybody can't be your favorite. I was like, so I said one of my favorite. She's like, that's not, you can't say that, Dad. I was like, yes, but literally all these people I met, they are like, they're
in that group.
They're in that group. So she'll keep me in check. Germany she just wants to check on me, make sure I'm straight. And I know each one, I know how the text messages come each way. You be ready for this, because it's like you get that text message where it's like Dad and nothing else after that, and you're like, okay, I know there's money coming like after this, so it's like Dad.
Yeah, there's either money or there's like something wrong.
Something wrong,
Yeah.
like Dad, and I'm like, okay, and I wait for it. Can you send me? Blah, blah, yeah, like that's how the text messages go. Yeah, and then I have my son who's 25, Jordan. I named him after Michael Jordan, because I'm a huge Jordan and Bulls fan. So he's 25, and I just say he's the coolest person I know, because I don't talk to him that much. And I know when I just cherish the time when he comes around, but he's on his own thing. Yeah. He's an artist. He's a dope artist. He does a lot of my graphics. He did the Rose City Sound that's up there. He does just a lot of our content, but I can't even reach out to him to get stuff done. I have to have Ricky, my manager, reach out to him to get stuff done, to get it done, because he'll just ignore me or like whatever. But he brings me the best Father's Day gifts, and always
Nice.
sometimes he's giving me advice, like he's older than me, so I just take it in and I just like roll with it. Then I have my youngest, Peyton, who's 13.
The overshare. Oh no.
No, Peyton's the youngest, and I'm just still trying to figure out what she's going to be.
Right.
Because I haven't been able to tap into. She went to me. I did a Netflix party.
Yeah.
And her eyes lit up when she saw like the production of movies like being made. Like, and she said, I want to be that. I said, oh, you want to be a AP? And I was like, okay, well, I know tons of people. I said, we'll see if that's what if that's what drives you. So I always look for things in my kids to say, okay, because everybody's not going to be a doctor or lawyer or this, that, and the other, or go to school. So I've never been like, well, you have to go to school. I mean, because there's so many different ways to make it now.
Oh,
I just try to find out what they like
yeah.
and then help them, whatever I can do to help them achieve what it is they want.
It's like grandma and grandpa have asked, like, hey, have you set up a college fund yet for the
Right.
girls? And I'm like, no,
Right.
no, I haven't. You know, they have accounts, you know,
Right.
and there's money in those accounts
Right.
that,
Right.
but to earmark it specifically for college, I mean, just since I graduated in '01, college, the importance of it has
Right.
dwindled.
Oh,
You
definitely.
know, I can't imagine what it's going to be in the next, 10 to 12 years.
Definitely. The way those jobs are, like, you don't even know what. So many people are making money doing other things now.
Yeah.
And then even, but I will say this: I wish that the schools put more emphasis on trades, like when we went to high school, because you could go to wood shop or you go to
Yep.
autumn. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then for them to take the musical arts out of school, it to me is such a detriment to the kids, because how are they going to express themselves, like, if it's not just through A's and B's and core learning? It's like you got to have
Yeah.
some other outlet. You need music and acting classes. You need that for those people that are built for that. God hasn't stopped making human beings that will gravitate to that. And it's just like now we're just making everybody turn into this, like, sort of cookie cutter, no more this and no more that, which is crazy to me. You know,
So
we need that.
somebody as driven as you are, you've got your own business, you've got the DJ, which, you're on an island, that's your thing. How do you balance all of that with, oh, that's right, I also have to help raise these 4 kids. Right. And, my dreams are important. I need to take care of myself, but, at the same time, I've got these 4 kids to
Right.
take care of. Like,
Right.
how do you find that balance?
And again, I bounce off of them. Like we just finished working probably 7 days in a row. I did a Dallas Cowboys party on Saturday night because they're in town. But I had scheduled my daughter on Sunday was going to be me and my youngest, because everybody else is all spread out. And so we were going to go to Knott's, because for Christmas, I bought everybody Knott's Berry Farm season passes. Even if you don't live here, it's like whenever you come here,
right.
At least that's where we know we can all go. And I always never put pressure on them to go, okay, well, let's make it this time. It was funny because once we, during COVID, I got so busy, Ricky, my manager, scheduled an 11 a.m. Zoom meeting with my kids every Sunday. So we have to Zoom.
That's wow.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so we would tap in wherever we were and then just talk about different things. And it was one of the best things in the world, because I would just sit there and then just to see all my kids, like, talking to each other. And we just, on whatever subject, it wasn't like, well, we have to do this or we have to do that. But my daughter, my oldest, she works for a company that they go to the different cities for the disaster. So right now she's in New Orleans, cleaning up there.
Yeah.
And then like my other one in Vegas. So just all spread out. So trying to get them all at once is very hard, but I did pour in a lot of time, and I stressed to them, like we were on a group chat too. Oh, I send them text messages like, hey, I love you. Make good decisions today. You know what I mean? We're all in this, you know what I mean? Just to keep that constant. And I always listen out. I try to make sure that I tell them, I said, if you call me with an emergency, there's 4 of you guys. I said, so I have to put you in levels of your emergency. If you like, orange, red, I have to, I said, so I was like, if I have to tell you, well, your sister's calling me, but she's orange right now. I gotta take care of that. But I always make sure that I'm always a man of my word with them. And I always try to do what I say I'm going to do, which is, especially for my daughters, you try to show them what a dad should be and how a husband should treat them, or someone significant. And I never want them to feel like, oh, my dad let me down. I always, even though I make mistakes, and if I make mistakes, I say, hey, I'm sorry, I dropped the ball. If I do it again, just don't be so hard on me. But if I do it consistently, then just let me know, because I really want that. But my youngest, we were supposed to hang out this yesterday, and she was like, Dad, I want to do something else. I'm like, okay, cool. I just kind of like go with the flow. I don't put the pressure on her to be like, no, you have to do, this, that, and the other. It's just like, no. Okay, cool. If you want to do something else, because you're 13, so I understand. but I try to make it so I spent enough time with them in the beginning that at least they have those good memories with me, and they know when we get together that that's what it's built on. Sometimes they do complain though, Dad, you're always busy. You're always busy, especially my daughters. You're always busy. You're always busy. I'm like, yeah, but when you call me for $300, that's why I'm always busy.
Yeah, yeah. If you didn't need $300 every other week,
Right? If you didn't need $300,
maybe I wouldn't be so busy.
Maybe I'd be so busy. So it's like, okay, you want the $300? We're a little bit busy, and in the summer, and then the winter we do things, or you want, you know what I mean? You got to pick and choose. It's like there's, and that's what I say. I'm always trying to represent you to show, and that's one thing that they all have is a drive to sustain themselves and keep themselves busy no matter what it is. And I like to hope that I'm that example, like, for them.
Going back to the idea of, admitting to our kids, hey, I'm human, I make mistakes. Was that always part of your makeup, or did you kind of have to evolve into that as a person and as a father? Because I've only in the last couple of years taken on that responsibility of like, hey, I made this mistake. I'm sorry. Like you said, if you at some point, and I'm empowering my daughters to trust me with their feelings about how I'm handling situations.
Right.
If I just the other day, I said, you know what? Because I was just kind of in a bad place mentally and just life-wise for the first, half of their lives,
right,
if not more. And just the other day we were driving, I kind of paused the music and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, by the way, for yelling as much as I did or snapping at you as much as I did for a long time. If I get to the point where I'm doing that again, or you don't quite like how I'm handling a situation, just tell me and we'll talk about it.
Right.
But I had to evolve into that. What about you?
Right.
Was that something where it was like, this was just always me, and now I'm just talking about it with my kids?
No, again, going back to my stepfather, who was a huge influence on me, he always led by example and wasn't that person like, I'm the man. He just kind of just led by example. So a lot of the things I didn't understand about him until now, they've been imparted in me. And of course, we all have our own past and we all gonna make mistakes because we're all human. Me and my oldest, we had a rough relationship for a while because of some different things that went on with her mother. And whenever I would try to over explain that they didn't happen, I could see that it didn't process well with her because she couldn't process it. So one day I told her, I said, you know what? I said, look, from this day forward, I'm not going to try. If you want to, whatever you believe happened, that's what happened. I said, I'm going to say I'm sorry for it, but moving forward, this is going to be this way. And if you just let me work from this day forward, I promise you, I will not let you down. I said, we're going to let that past be the past. And once I realized that, because it was like I was mentally just driving myself crazy, like this stuff didn't really happen. And so I don't know, throughout the years, and I think it's because I've worked in so many industries and dealt with so many people that I learned the value of just saying, you know what, I messed up. And it probably was the first time when I learned that, because we all grow up and we're like, I'm going to skirt out of that one. I'm not going to own up to that one. But then
totally.
When you see the value in yourself and owning up to something when you make a mistake, and the value of that relationship, especially if you value that relationship, I think has something to do with music and the type of music I listen to, and then just dealing with people. I believe that like DJs see the best and the worst of people when you're DJing parties, because people that come and make requests to you, to me, it seems like it's the shadow of the world, because you get those people that come up and they make these requests, and you can tell them when they make a request and it's all about them. You know what I mean? You can tell the selfish people, the people who just want to make you know what I mean?
Right,
so you get every version of every human when you're like a DJ. And it's like, so you see how the world is in the shape that it is in now. But I just learned to try and be accept the things that happen and then just like own up to them as soon as possible, especially if I know that someone's not dealing with me that way and I know how it like bothers me.
Yeah.
I have a real big problem now with people um, that hear something and don't verify. They just go off of what they heard and then have their feelings based off of that. And I find myself telling people, asking times, you didn't think to just like talk to me and ask me? Because the number one thing I always tell my kids is whenever they meet, whenever I introduce them to somebody in the industry or that I have worked for, the people always say the same thing. Your dad is a solid cat. And that's more than anything what I want them to always hear when I introduce them to somebody. They say, and it's just like clockwork. As soon as they meet somebody, they pull my kids to the side and say, I really love your dad. Your dad is a solid cat. He's always been there. He's always done this. And this is why I have this Rolodex of like people that I want to keep that going, not for my own, but just to be, if when I'm gone, if everybody just says how solid of a dude I was, that's what it means to me. So I do it more so that I hope my kids, like, even if they don't have an example, they remember what everybody
told. The legacy, right?
Everybody told my dad, everybody that I met told my dad told me he was really solid. And so maybe if I look at the things that he did, that's why he was solid. Because I said, no one's ever come to him like, oh, I hate your dad. He's like, you know what I mean? But I try to make those relationships like stick. I'm big on that. You know what I mean? And I wish everybody else was just as big on that. We wouldn't be in the place that we're in now because everybody needs somebody. Everybody can kind of go through some different things. And sometimes people just want to hear, I'm sorry, I messed up. Like, I'm sorry. I'm human, you know?
If you didn't already mention your age, we both dated ourselves because you said Rolodex and I knew exactly what that was.
No doubt.
Tell me about the evolution of Rose City Sound. How did it begin? Okay. And tell me about all the different things you guys have your fingers into now.
Okay. So Rose City Sound came about actually right at the beginning of COVID. So Dodgers didn't start. We didn't know where it was going.
Yeah.
I always wanted to have a team. I always wanted a manager. And I also like I always admire people who have solid people around them because you're only as good as your team is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yep. And so first it started where
ask Mike Trout.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So COVID hit and we went into this, like everybody went into this spiral. Okay, well, what do we do? And so I sat around. I said, okay, well, I was still working in aerospace because we had to go to work. And so, but there was no DJing. Nobody knew what was going to be. And so I brought on Ricky as my manager, who's a great manager who keeps me on point. And we just started doing the lives. I said, okay, I want to do lives. I don't want to be on all the time. I just want to come on and then create a lane to kind of uplift people. And we did one Sunday where we did like a gospel. I did all gospel or uplifting music. And my aunts were coming on and just all these different people. And she had been on my team for a minute, and then so she started meeting other different people. Like we started doing things for Shop Me Vida, which is a Latin-based clothing company.
Yep.
in LA. And so we did their live. So we were doing Firme Friday. So we started bridging the Black and the Latin communities and the white communities, like just all coming together on music. And at the time, then the Dodgers Foundation called us and we started doing the foundation food giveaways. And then Yasiel Puig, his people called us and we started doing their giveaways. And before you know it, we had like 56 weeks in a row in Rose City doing lives for Firme Friday. 56 weeks in a row. And it was just like a constant. And as it got a little bit looser and we go out and do stuff, people would come up to me and they would go, okay, your lives really got me through like the time I was going. It was uplifting. And I had a terrible accident and I was in the hospital and I was listening to your mixes and it just like got me through. And so within bringing on Ricky as my manager, I got just this team of people that came together. I have my content guy, which is Ray. I have Nestor and Bartley, who are my sound men. I have Natalie and Mike. And then so at the time, Mike Ricky's brother is a guitar player. He was building a studio, and he wanted to do different things and told us to take over the studio. So we built the studio where we started doing our lives from there. And just all my DJ friends, we just kind of came together, and I was telling them, come out, feel the vibe, come out, feel the vibe. And we're in Ontario, and I had DJs coming from like LA. So I just used again that Rolodex of people. And then I wanted to make sure that they saw me first, because I wanted them to see the vision, not just try to tell them the vision.
Right.
And I would just invite them out to the studio, and then they would hang out. And the first thing they say is coming is like, the vibe in here is so good. And it was needed because everybody goes through different things within this COVID time that we're going through. Some people are sheltered in, some people don't want to come out. And so we just try to make it welcoming for wherever your stance is on it or how you feel. We just want to make it comfortable. So, but within that, we've created our merch, our Rose City Sound merch. We've produced a couple tracks. We have just visions. I want to make it like Tiny Desk on steroids, where we just like, you never know who's going to come in on the lives.
Right.
We're hopefully going to continue producing music and doing some different things. We actually, one of our content people, Jess, who works for me at Dodgers, she produced this dope documentary that was around COVID and the whole civil unrest that was going on. Yeah. So she was filming me at doing the foundation gigs. She was going out to the protest. So she has all this like dope content of what's coming together. And then it's just like a documentary of everything that happened, because we were going through so many different things, civil unrest, COVID, all these different feelings. And it was funny to see that we're just like capturing like all of that within like this crazy time frame that we're in, and trying to just be together and then just bring humans together and then just being nice to each other. But the team is great, and everyone just came aboard, because at the time nobody was making money. So it was like, and everyone on the team said, look, I just want to be a part of it. I'm not really about the money. I just want to be a part of it.
The money will come later,
right? The
whether
money will
it's
come
from
later.
this venture or something, down the road.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we just remained this solid team, and we just been building ever since. And like I said, I'm only as strong as my team is, and I appreciate my team so much. I appreciate all the work that Ricky does. I appreciate everybody, because it's a lot. Now the funny thing is, like with everything that I was managing, Ricky always says, I don't know how you would like doing this, because there's a lot, because at any point in time there's 4 requests a day coming in for something that we have to do, and she's like, just give it to me. So I was like, now she can't believe like how many different things like come in, and it's only getting it gets more and more like every year organically. You know what I mean? Not going out and looking for it, but organically it just grows and grows and grows.
Well,
and grows.
I mean, just I messaged you asking to come on the podcast after we hung out with Jake, Big Brother Jake at Dodger Stadium, and you're like, I'll have Ricky get a hold of you or whatever like that, and then she asked for my social security number, date of birth, and, passport, and all kinds of stuff. And I get it. We've got to jump through hoops.
Right.
We've got to jump through the hoops.
Right.
But I mean, just the idea, like you said, you at some point you need to look around and be okay with delegating stuff.
Yes.
Your shoulders are broad, yes, but we still need God to help us. Yes. Our shoulders are broad, yes, but we still need a manager. We still need somebody by our side to, if nothing else, bounce ideas off of, let alone schedule stuff.
Yes. And that's the one thing I'm good at. It's like, I'm not, although I'm at the top, it's like, I'll take all the ideas and let's try it and let's see what happens. But I'm also big on telling people like, look, I would never ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do or haven't already done in this business. So I appreciate the fact that people come in and say, hey, we don't really need to get paid right now, because I understand when I first started out as a DJ, I wasn't getting paid that much or paid at all. I was just trying to get in it. But everyone sees the vision and knows what's coming. And I'm just so happy that it's come together organically as it is, and the phone doesn't stop ringing and everything keeps coming, because it's a really good feeling. We're tired and exhausted, but it's a really good feeling. You know?
At some point, you do need to say no to some things.
Right.
How difficult is that for you?
Well, that's what Ricky does now.
Because she knows you can't.
Yeah, so
she knows that if she left it up to you, you'd say yes to everything, and then
yes
she'll have
everything.
to figure it out.
Right. So that's why I'm okay, fine. You want everything? You tell them like
you tell them no.
You tell them no, and and then she tells you, and I go, okay, all right. And there's sometimes when I say, "You sure you don't want it?" And she's like, "Nope, we're not doing." I'm like, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah. How difficult was it to trust somebody the way you have to trust Ricky and the rest of your team to, because you're the face, you're at the top, all that stuff, but you've got a gatekeeper. You have to trust that gatekeeper. How difficult was it?
It wasn't like that difficult, because it's almost like I used to tell my son when my son was coming up. I didn't give him a curfew. I just said, like, look, just hang out. I said, but I'm watching you. Like, I don't think I don't have my eye on you.
Right.
And I would look up, and my son would be coming in at 4 a.m. on Tuesday. I'm like, dude, I gave you open, but on a Tuesday, like, why you know what I mean? Why are you coming in at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday? Like, that just doesn't. You're not going to succeed that way. And so even with this, like, I'll watch the moves that we make from afar, and I'll give everybody like leeway to see, because without making the mistakes, I had to make the mistakes. So you have to learn to make the mistakes. And lots of times I can see when a hiccup is coming, but I want it to play itself out, especially if it's not so detrimental that it's going to ruin anything. Now, if it's going to be detrimental, I'll step in and I'll say this. And it comes in with handling certain clients now, because I had tons of clients where they were used to dealing with me. And then now that I say, well, you have to talk to Ricky, some people get like, well, I've been communicating with you for like years. Why do I have to talk to them now? And I try to tell them, I said, look, I was like, this is my business partner. This is my manager. I've entrusted her to do everything. But I've also explained to her our relationship and how important our relationship is. So although there might be a point in between, you're still going to get the same service, but also understand there's a lot of mouse fees and other things we do. And this is going to make that part of the process like better and going to her. And so I like to have her learn all those different just emotions and different things that comes with it. But I'm always watching. But at the same time, I want everybody who work to feel confident that if they come to me with an idea or with something that we need to be done, I'm gonna like take it in, and that's what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna give you the leeway to take it over and do certain things.
It's like I tell my students at Cal State Northridge, like, I'm not going to let you fail.
Right.
But I want you to fall. I'm going to let you fall.
Right.
I'm not really always going to be there to catch you when you fall, but I'll be there to pick you up.
Right.
I'll be there to, brush you off, explain what happened. You can tell me what happened, and we can figure out, okay, well, how can we next time either not fall as hard, maybe fall in a different spot, and that learning experience. And I try to do this with my girls, and man, it is tough knowing, okay, there's an obstacle ahead. Right. They don't see it. But I need them to just figure it out.
Right.
And that's the toughest, man.
Oh, it's definitely toughest. That's the toughest when you can see them going in a way, and you're like, but then you're like, okay, I gotta let them like learn this lesson, which is another reason. When I drop my daughter off every day, I say, I love you, make good decisions, because I always want her to hear that in her head before she does something, which she's gonna do something. Yeah. At least she can say, my dad said make good decisions, so I got a chance to make a good decision. Because and you hope to God that as they're 13, as they're growing up, they keep hearing that, and then they stop making like the bad decisions. But I also let you know, even if you make a bad decision, I'm going to be there to pick it up.
I'm going to be there. Yeah.
I'm going to be there. I might be pissed, but just understand that's the reason why I'm pissed, because I wanted you to make good decisions. But I also know that in life, things happen.
Yep.
And I tell my son, can you just please like listen to me enough that like if I'm pulling your coattail on something, then I'm probably more experienced, and I'm only trying to help to save you some heartache that either I've witnessed or I've gone through myself, because this is nothing brand new. Everybody goes through a cycle where you thought, oh, more smarter than my parents, so they
Yep.
don't understand this part of it. No, we've all been through the same things, and that's another good thing that I try to say. I always try to put whatever happens to them. I always try to put myself back in that age for them. So if my daughter's 13, I'll always take me back to my 13-year-old self and say, okay, you can understand that. And then that's how you try to explain it to them, like in different ways. Always be able to go back to yourself and say, you kind of understand that, especially if it's something similar to what you did. And the sooner you can do that, that's when you'll kind of be able to kind of like more understand and then be a little more flexible. But we're all gonna have those moments where they do something messed up. You get that call in the middle of the night. You got to go over. You know what I mean? It's just, but the quicker you just put yourself back in that position and then go, okay, it's not that big of a deal. Let's just get through it and get the learning lesson.
Let me get a couple of those boom boxes. When you find, those vintage, those antiques, kick me one of those. It's got to have a dual tape deck with a CD.
Yes.
And then I could give it to them, and then they could see what it was like.
Exactly. Exactly. That's
because right now they just tell Alexa.
Oh,
they
yeah.
Just tell Alexa, play Count on Me, play Sunday Best. Yeah. They don't know.
They don't know. It's like we talk about music. It's like I have this great vinyl collection here, but it's like, and then I heard one of my favorite rappers, Fonte, say, like now people just they don't have their, how do you pass down a music legacy anymore? It's like on a hard drive.
Yeah.
Like you don't have all this, but my kids appreciate this. They come in, like when I hear my kids like playing like Tribe Called Quest, I'm like, I did my job. You know what I mean? I did my job.
Validation.
Oh yeah, yes, this validation. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And then when they send me, Dad, you should check this out, and they know what I like, or if it's something new, because my daughter always sends me, Dad, you should check this out, and Dad, you should check this out, and I always tell them like, this is dope, and I'll never tell them, oh, that's trash, or, you know what I mean? I just take everything in and like listen to it. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to see what they like, and I'm trying to see what I put in them of why they like this. You know what I mean? But that's, for me, that's some of the best validation ever for them to be playing my music, for them to appreciate like my music, and then still want to hang out with me, because my kids still want to hang out with me, which is like, which is dope to me.
That
like,
is cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so dope. And we'll be hanging out, and then we'll be in line or something, and they'll say Dad, and everybody goes, look, that's your dad. Like, you know what I mean? Because the age thing. Because when I'm with my daughter, it looks like that's who I'm like dating, but then they go Dad, and they're like, oh, you know what I mean?
I didn't even think about that. Of course.
Oh, it's crazy
because you look early to mid 30s, and you've got to.
Yes, that is so. I'm telling you, it's
think
crazy.
about that.
It's so crazy just to be saying. She go Dad, and then they have no problem calling me out, laughing, and just like, and then saying it. And then honestly, my oldest, when she says Dad, each person says Dad in such a different way. It's like music to my ears, and I tell her all the time, I say, I love when you call me like Dad, because it sounds cool. It sounds so good, especially from where our relationship was at one point in time, for it to be and hear Dad, and it's just like it's like music to me. Even though I know it might be some chastising in her way coming like from behind it, but kids are the best, man, and you just got to cherish your time and then like just enjoy them.
It was good to get to know you, man. I appreciate the time, and thanks, Ricky, for a little bit of extra time. I think I booked only a half hour, and she's probably, it's going like an hour, man. Tell them to just stop it.
No. Hey, can I tell you something, man?
Yeah.
Your name is so dope. You should be a rapper. Aron Bender. You know how dope that name is? We got the newest Aron. Man, come on. You know how dope your name is? Like Aron Bender. Like,
I appreciate that.
That is so dope, bro. That is so. And I'm a big fan. And then even with like Jake coming on the team, it's like so many great things coming in. And I admire you so much, dude. And I appreciate that.
Thank you, brother.
I really admire. Yes, brother.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I appreciate that. We'll talk soon. This will come out soon. Thanks, man.
Yes. Have a good one, bro.
Thanks for watching the Aron Bender podcast, whether it's on YouTube, IGTV, or DB&A TV. You can contact me, AronBender.com. Email me guest ideas or comments, AronBenderMedia@gmail.com. Be well, and thanks for watching.